When I'm talking about Kamala Harris's policies and talking about the electoral calculation here, doing the rat race, I'm putting my DC wonk analyst hat on. When I'm talking about the Republican Party, for example, and how far they go, okay? So he needs to get better with the donut shop worker demographic. Yeah. Felix says Trump's biggest asset in 2016 was independents seeing him as more the moderate of the two choices. That's not value judgment. That's an objective fact about voter perceptions. Why in the fuck world would your message be he's actually more moderate than he claims? Yeah, I know. The hypocrisy baiting stuff is really stupid. Although I will say something that may be considered controversial in this community. I do think that the way that Kamala Harris handled the trans question on the Fox News broadcast with Brett Baer was not as hypocrisy focused, but actually was relatively solid. Not just for the Fox audience in general, but I think it was a solid way to talk about it, as in like, who cares? It was fine when he did it. It's fine when we did it. Like, up about this. Okay. Let's get back to the kitchen table issues. I think that is the expert way of just neutralizing the anti-trans narratives that Republicans desperately want to put at the forefront. Close that door fast and made Brett back down. Yeah, exactly. Lawless on, respectfully, you're dumb on the trans question. What do you mean? I don't think a normal Republican can turn out rule of voters in the same way Trump can. No, but they still have their base. Like, evangelicals are always going to vote, and they're a resilient voting bloc for the Republicans. Waltz had an even greater answer to it. It was fantastic. Waltz pulled no punches, calling out the anti-trans attack ads for fomenting hate and demonizing a minority to maintain political power. Here's the quote that was really good. I think this is the one, right? The line of questioning came midway through the interview where Waltz was asked about what the administration would do for queer kids. You can see the Waltz full response here. Tim Waltz, yeah, well, there's certainly things we can codify into law. We know the hate that come against this, making sure that education is out there. It starts with making sure that those kids are safe in the schools. They're safe in their persons. I think the platform of being able to talk about this makes a big difference. But I also think, Abby, your point is on this. I was just mentioning we need to appoint judges who uphold the right to marriage, uphold the right to be who you are. I'm proud to be on making sure that that's the case. Uphold the right to get medical care you need. We should not be naive. Those appointments are really, really important. I think that's what the vice president is committed to. No, I think this, not the judges. There was another thing that here, this is the one. Yeah. We're out here trying to make the case that access to healthcare and a clean environment. This is the banger message. Sorry. This is like, it's not just buzzwords, chatters. This is, I think, the best possible angle of attack here. We're out here trying to make the case that access to healthcare and a clean environment and manufacturing jobs and keeping your local hospital open, those are the things that people are really concerned about. They're running millions of dollars of ads demonizing folks that are just trying to live their lives. That is perhaps the best mathematically calculated response to all of the trans panic that you can arrive at. That is Tim Waltz doing Tim Waltz. The problem, however, is that this is relegated to the random podcasts of the world and is not the primary communication strategy of the party itself. And that is very frustrating. And for the record, a version of this also exists for anti-immigrant sentiment, right? Like, it is damn near identical. Hasan, you talk way too much about the trans stuff. Are you by chance a trans? Dog, this is such a funny thing to say because this question in and of itself, and I know you're like trolling or whatever, but this question in and of itself basically destroys the conception that like gender norms are binary and rigid. Okay? You know what I mean? Do you understand that? You understand that you're like openly recognizing the reality? I think it's not as effective for immigrant stuff because people don't interact with that many trans people on a daily, but they do interact with immigrants and form a bigoted relationship and view them. Wrong. 100% wrong. On the immigrant stuff, it's actually even more successful because of the lack of access to like a random normal trans person that people might have, right? Everybody is around immigrants, both undocumented and documented, all the time. And that's precisely the reason why in the polling data, if you dive a little bit deeper into polls on the way that the Americans the way that the American population views immigration in this country, 60% say they want mass deportations, and 60+% still say they want mass amnesty, a pathway to citizenship. It's the idea that the immigrant that you don't know is actually responsible for all of these, but the immigrant that you do know is good, is a hard worker. Okay? And the Democrats, it's same poll. Is that from the same poll? Yes, same poll. It is so shocking if you're oblivious to how Americans believe contradictory things, but it is expected if you are familiar. That sounds like with extra steps. Yeah, no, all the immigration conversation revolves around white nativist ideals. Yes, that is inherent permissible white supremacist talking points. That's what it is. So the median voter undefeated, it's not necessarily just a median voter. It's just like every American voter is like this. When we're talking about percentages like 60+%, that's like damn near the entirety. But yeah, turn the role that coming out plays in advancing, advancing acceptance, making a plea to parents to accept their kids, and explaining how we can move people to a place of acceptance. You're reaching a lot of folks in hearing this, and for some people, it's not even out of malice. It's not a pejorative. It's out of ignorance. They maybe have not been around people. You've all seen this, however it takes you to get there. But I know it's a little frustrating when you see folks have an epiphany when their child comes out to them. That's good. We're glad they got there. You'd like to think that empathy would be there. But I think especially for older folks, they want to do right, but they don't really understand. And when they see these guys trying to demonize and make things scary, that's where I think family members can just come out and say, look, here's what you should understand about this community. Here's what you should know. It feels to me like that goes a long ways. We're winning public opinion, and we need to continue to do that. But I don't want us to get too far away from, we need to also make sure that the power that protects these rights is in place too. So I think that Tim Walz is this is another one of those instances where he's just like, when you let his freak flag fly, he just pops off pretty hardcore. I just wish he wasn't in the cuck corner all the time. You know what I mean? And shackled and muzzled by the establishment Democratic Party that sees him as like a weird radical that's going to be off-putting to the fucking broader base of support, while they simultaneously trot him out as like a coach that shoots guns. Come on, go shoot your guns and be a coach up about like your actual worldview. And that's what's like really frustrating about this kind of thing. Like you have a golden boy and you've muzzled him. I don't like that. I think it's really, really, really stupid. Did you talk about the 30-day deadline that Biden did? Yes, I did. You are 100% spot on with the Nikki Haley comment. She's Mr. Zogby's frustration reflects that and an acknowledgement among some Harris campaign operatives that the damage with a small but potentially crucial subset of voters has been done, especially in Michigan. The battleground state has one of the largest Arab and Muslim populations in the country, and those voters signaled long ago that they were angry with Biden administration over the war. The path to victory in a state like Michigan, Harris campaign officials are betting, is through suburban counties that are home to many college-educated and white voters. That includes a slice of more than 296,000 voters who supported Nikki Haley in the state's Republican presidential primary race. Ms. Harris's visits to suburban areas of Michigan and Wisconsin this week underscored where she and her advisors believe she can win. Paul Bless says she's not going to for the same reason she's given nothing to the anti-war movement so far. She wants to be seen as more pro-Israel candidate. The Harris campaign is forfeiting Arab American voters in Michigan and hoping to offset the loss through white suburbanites. The only Democrats who are honest about this are the ones who say there aren't enough Arab Americans in Michigan to tip the scale against her. I don't know if it's accurate, but it's better than pretending she's going to suddenly run an anti-Netanyahu ad 18 days before the election. Yeah. She wants votes out? No, she does not. She does not. I don't think you guys understand. She does not. She has openly communicated that if you care about this sort of thing and you want to vote on that basis, you are not a part of the party. I mean, that's it.
Go ahead. Does the death of the war make peace easier or more difficult? I think it makes it easier. Why is that?
You're going to talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu about it?
He's called me, yes. He's called me. I have not spoken. I'm going to speak to him probably now.
What are you going to tell him?
Well, look, he's doing a good job. Biden is trying to hold him back. Just so you understand, Biden is far superior to the VP. He's trying to hold him back, and they probably should be doing the opposite, actually. I'm glad that Bibi decided to do what he had to do, but it's moving along pretty good. Everything's moving along. Yes, you have clearly.
obvious you are a Jewish supporter, anti-Zionist as I am. Please stop anti-Semitism in chat. What? Are you okay, chatter? What is happening? Yeah, so people are looking at this and going, oh, you should just use this. You should run this ad targeting Arab American voters in Michigan. It's like, I don't think they care. You know, I don't think they care enough. I think that they have made this electoral calculation. I don't know if it will get them across the finish line, but it certainly will not in the next election cycle. Does that make sense? That's the, like, even if they are to win, and their chances are looking worse and worse every single day, there's still a likelihood that they will win, right? But the problem here is that coalition that they're trying to laser in on will inevitably go back to the Republican Party, no matter how aggressive or right-wing the Republicans are, as long as the Republican Party maintains messaging discipline and doesn't go as hard as Trump does. That's it. Down to the wire. Every single person that you meet, most likely at a certain point, has heard something that Trump has said that they do not like. And this absolutely includes Trump voters. If you ask Trump voters, like, what do you think about Trump? They'll be like, I don't really like some of the things he says, but he's my guy, right? Like, that's such a commonly held perspective amongst Trump supporters, okay? That, to me, means that if it's not Donald Trump, someone who might be as charismatic as Donald Trump, that's really, really difficult to find. But if it's someone who doesn't go as far and as beyond as Donald Trump, like, you know, and running around and being like, yeah, immigrants are, you know, and that they're going to eat your pets or whatever, like, you're going to have a really hard time beating a person like that. Even into recent days, people have spoken with close Biden advisors. They have heard complaints that the president would be in the same spot or better right now had he stayed in the race. One Dem veteran consultant, that's literally insane. Yeah, that's not correct, for the record. That's really stupid. They should have literally, no, they would not be in the same place. What the fuck are these guys talking about? What are they smoking on? No, he would be like, on the national polls, would be minimum 5 points underwater, perhaps maybe even a larger percentage. It is crazy. Okay, you are out of your mind. Like, the only reason why you think that is because you haven't heard his brain. You haven't heard his brain leaking out of his ears on national television in quite some time. And that's why you're like, oh, well, you know, people like him. His approval ratings went up when he dropped out of the race, dog. Like, they hated him so much that they were like, oh, thank God he left. Okay, give me a break. You're so stupid. Anyway. In mid-September, the Democratic and Research Polling Initiative Blueprint conducted a national poll testing a long series of potential statements Harris could make about herself and Biden. Those that performed best, the polling found, were those that displayed a clear break between her and Biden, while those that performed worse were those that portrayed a future Harris administration as building on the accomplishments of the Biden era. Any mention of Biden, the polling found, led to less support, even if the position it had Harris taking was the same. Even if you're going to lean on the Biden administration's accomplishments, it is best to not admit that it is Joseph Robinette Brandon's accomplishments, because people don't like him. Very, very dumb that the Democratic Party is like, nah, we are Biden. Mike from PA, Harris is completely fumbled by turning to the right and has totally cratered her support among young people and black people. Pathetic and deserved. Please tell me how interested you are in this election in November using a scale from 1 to 10. Share of registered voters responding 9 or 10. Okay. We are at 64%. It's lower than Hillary Clinton for black voters, and 18 to 34-year-old voters, 54% to 49%. That is up. Her early surge was entirely with young people and people of color in hopes that she would represent progressive change. Her entire campaign since then has been spitting in the progressive faces, and thus she will lose this data from the right after the dropout proving it. I think overall, I am not as assured as Michael from Pennsylvania is, in terms of like Kamala Harris's like definite electoral defeat. Although I am certainly worried about it. I do think that there is every day that goes by, I think the likelihood that she will lose gets higher. And that is not good when you have 17 days until the election. Okay. Are people less enthused? Yeah, they will vote for Trump or not vote. I doubt it. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but this poll doesn't mean crap. I mean, the trend of younger person not being as active in election has been a trend in almost all countries. No, I think that there's a lot of people under the age of 35 that if you activated, you could actually swing like a ton of districts. The problem is we just never try. We don't ever actively try that. Like, here's what doesn't work for under 35-year-olds, okay? Telling them to up and vote. You can have a million Harry Sassans vote scolding people over and over again. People just don't give it. They're like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, and you also cannot find a better strategy of communicating the campaign policies if the campaign policies are kind of like, I don't know how else to describe this, right? Like, you cannot find a good way to massage right-wing framing on these issues. And that's why Tim Walz fails spectacularly when talking about like nuking Iran or talking about immigrants and how we're going to pack them up ourselves. We're the anti-immigrant party. Like, that's dumb. You can't do that. You're just not going to win on that front. So what remains in that situation? Trump did January 6th, which, you know, obviously a lot of older voters or, you know, election lovers such as yourself care about that. But I don't think the broader population gives it about that, right? Like, it doesn't matter. I think about what this guy literally said something so anti-Semitic in defense of Asmongold. That's so funny. This guy said Asmongold said nothing wrong, which, by the way, you should check in with Asmongold because he thinks he said something wrong. And then he turned around and said, you've said worse about tiny hat people, as in he's saying, like, he's using an anti-Semitic way of referring to Jews. Like, how am I supposed to assume that you are not a Nazi here and assume that you're like actually someone who cares about anti-Semitism as you refer to Jewish people as tiny hat people? What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? That's insane. Like, he couldn't even hide his like perspective. He couldn't even like find a better way to communicate that to like virtue signal as though he does care about Jewish people by literally being anti-Semitic. It's hilarious. He right? Okay. I'm voting for Kanye kid. Okay, chatter. There's nothing funnier than being anti-Semitic while simultaneously being like, I really care about anti-Semitism and you're presenting it. You're being very anti-Semitic right now. Nick had a great statement for the Asmongold people, even attacking Asmongold for his willingness to
Defenders,
change.
y'all are so cringe. Listen, he is our friend. He's not yours. You don't need to go harass everything OTK related for him. Okay? You guys look like losers. Stop it. Like, holy, I cannot. He don't know you, little bro. Stop. He's our friend. We talk to him daily. We know him more than you do. Grow up. Go focus on yourselves. Get a job. Go to the gym. It is pathetic. Like, after every single OTK tweet just getting harassed, it's insane. Stop. Stop. Like, stop. Like, it's crazy. It is crazy. I've never seen this before. Like, stop. Y'all are making his community...
He's throwing them in the grinder.
Look like horrible. Please stop. For love of God. Like, we know him. You do not. Just because you watch him all day. Holy moly.
I haven't been getting a lot of like Asmongold supporters in here that's like that chirp at me though, to be honest.
It's crazy.
Like, I haven't really seen that much.
I never even say shit.
Yeah. Like, I think they just don't even come around these parts, or we probably banned them a long time ago. They're just like mostly on Reddit.
Like this. But like, off.
On the mod side, it's not even that bad. We had a handful, but even some of them were immediately apologetic. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's weird to get mad at everybody, including like yelling at Asmongold as a fan of Asmongold because he said that he recognizes that he did something wrong. Like, it's a wild situation. Let people grow. Anyway, Peter Alexander, what is one policy you would have done differently over the last 3 years and a half as than President Biden?
That every president has to cut their own path. What is one policy that you would have done differently over these last 3.5 years than President Biden?
I mean, to be very candid with you, even including Mike Pence, vice presidents are not critical of their presidents. I think that really actually, in terms of the tradition of it and also just going forward, it does not make for a productive and important relationship.
I don't think that's a good message. You got to be like, I'm expanding on I'm building a new pathway for the future or something. You know what I mean? There's a lot I can do, and there's a lot of limitations to the position itself. Like, I think I think given the constraints of the job is one thing that speaks to why I can't make these changes right now. But the American people will vote for the change that they want to see in me. Like just simply saying that like I'm a VP to Biden and I ride or die with him is so dumb, especially when as Biden's vice president, you were chosen to replace him because he was objectively unpopular.
I've given you that green light with his comments that you can carve your own path. So now that you have this ability to say that to be on your own?
Well, no, going forward, there is no question that I bring my own experiences and my own life experiences.
Is there a policy that stands out to you in particular either?
Sure. I mean, my approach to what we need to do around Medicare covering home health care, born out of my experience.
Oh my gosh, she's trying to do patchwork on the blueprint messaging front. She's trying to hit those hit the positive policies that she saw play well. No, she has said something about Medicare. It's correct. This is a actual policy that is overtly popular. When I first heard it on The View, I said as such. I told you guys the moment that she unveiled that she was going to expand Medicare to at-home care, I was like, that's great. I call balls and strikes, chat. I call balls and strikes. The reason why I keep going back to this blueprint thing is because this verbatim is like straight up everything that I have said for the past couple of months. Okay? When she talks about good policies that are progressive, that help people's like material problems, it plays well for the broader electorate. They like it. They're like, I'm hurting here. I'm glad that she's going to address that. That is normal. Okay? That's normal. Of course people are going to be like, yeah, man, why would I vote for you? Oh, you're going to do something for me? I like that. Okay? Now, this isn't even to say that she's going to do any of this. I'm just, at this point, we are so captive to reactionary framing on issues that I'm just like she won't even lie to people, you know? I'm like, lie to the American public, please. Oh, it's very, very, very stupid to not do this. And the things that I hate, small business stuff, like the hyper focus on giving tax cuts to a person that wants to launch a small business, plays very poorly. Who would have thought? And the worst of it all being that she would put an actual Republican in the cabinet. It's like, you're not a Republican. This is not the Republican primary that's happening on November 5th. Okay, Barry Balls, thank you for the 100 community gifted subs during this freaking hype train. That's crazy. Allowing 100 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. That's wild. What a time to be alive, Harry Balls. Barry Balls, sorry, not Harry Balls. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, chat.
Of taking care of my mother. My priority on housing, one, because I know what it means.
Like all of the personal anecdotes that she tries to tack on to the policy. I'm sorry. People might get mad at me about this, but like, I think when she talks about the personal anecdotes, it comes across as robotic and insincere. It comes across as inauthentic. Please don't yell at me and tell me that I am like anti-black or anti-woman or whatever. I'm just telling you how I read it. And if I read it and I am susceptible to her framing on the issue because I like the policies that she's talking about, then I suspect that a lot of people that have way more hangups than I do, okay, because I have none. I don't give a what someone's background is. I only care about what they're saying and what they're going to do. I don't know. I think that is an overt problem with the way that Democrats are perceived. And I think that that is a big, that's another part of the messaging gap, another part of the messaging issue. Bro, she said, but you like our policies? My friend, that's neither here nor there. Should I put the hat on? I have a hat for this. I have two different hats. When I'm talking about Kamala Harris's policies and talking about the electoral calculation here, doing the rat race, I'm putting my DC wonk analyst hat on. When I'm talking about the Republican Party, for example, and how far they go, okay, in terms of like messaging a radical agenda that comes across as overtly gross and okay, I'm talking about it from the perspective, not because I agree with the Republican Party at all, nor the Democratic Party as, for that matter, but from the perspective of, will this help them win the election? Do you understand? Do you get it? I don't think you get it, but it's okay. This guy, what the dude? Why are you making it like America wants a ceasefire? There's literally nothing isn't real does that without America approval. Do you think Kamala is Hillary 2.0 or is she doing something better or worse? I think that Kamala Harris is Hillary 2.0 for sure, but she doesn't have the baggage that Hillary has. So she is, her favorables are better than Hillary Clinton. That much is a certainty, you know? Anyway, do you have a hat that you put on when you are talking about an organized militia movement in the third world? Yes, I do. I wear many hats.
Affordable housing and the ability to buy a home. Again, my own experience. My mother saved up, and not until I was a teenager was she able to do it. But also I know that for so many young people who I speak with around our country, the American dream is just really out of reach. So my policy about $25,000 down payment assistance to help them get their foot in the door. The work that I have been doing and will bring to the presidency around emphasizing small businesses as being part of the real
never talk about small businesses ever again. Shut up.
Of America's economy. Those are the experiences and the ideas that I have that are about moving forward and really in being a part of the next generation of leadership in America.
Last one,
I hate the small business, dude. It's so bad. It is so bad. All right. Let's get to